Good evening to all. Let me heartily welcome all of you to the workshop by Esri India Technologies on GIS technology and its relevance in gender and development. I am Balu Meni, Research Associate and PhD Scholar at Center for Gender Equality at Imagery, India. Esri is an industry leader in growth and adoption of GIS technical solutions for government, businesses, academia, and NGOs in India. With 49 offices worldwide and employees from 73 countries, Esri is a global company with bases in America, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Middle East. Let me formally welcome the Esri team and mention the agenda of the workshop for the next 1.5 hours. Mr. Krishna Rao will be starting the workshop by talking to us on GIS technology and its relevance in gender and development. Mr. Krishna is a postgraduate in ecological science and leads the pre-sales function for Esri India. He has exposure to multiple domains of geospatial technologies with an experience of about 22 years plus. A warm welcome to you, sir. Next on the agenda is a session by Mr. Ajit Kumar and Prashant K on GIS as a tool for PRA and RRA, from planning to monitoring, which includes use of mobile apps for rapid and participatory rural appraisal, web GIS as a platform for visualization, dissemination, and data management. Let me welcome Mr. Ajit Kumar Baba and Mr. Prashant. Mr. Ajit Kumar oversees Esri India's technical support operations in the South Zone as a manager in the Technical Service Division. With an experience of 8 years in the fields of mobile and enterprise technologies, he holds a postgraduate degree in GIS and an expert in GIS. Mr. Prashant is a manager in the pre-sales team and oversees Esri India technical operations in South Zone. He is a postgraduate in GIS and an expert in the field of smart IoT and enterprise technology with experience of 14 years in the above domains. Next, let me welcome Ms. Sharanya M. Ms. Sharanya M will be talking to us with the map and monitoring changes to Imagery and GeoAI, and also on ArcGIS for monitoring missions, grassroots to global. Together with Mr. Prashant K. Ms. Sharanya manages the data science segment for Esri India. As an assistant manager in the pre-sales team, she holds a postgraduate degree in environmental engineering and a postgraduate diploma in Geographic information system with experience of 5 years in the above domains. We would be ending the workshop with a session on developer options by Mr. Shivashankar Reddy. Mr. Shivashankar Reddy holds a master's degree in geoinformatics and works as senior developer at Esri India. He has got 11 years of experience and enjoys developing various enterprise prototypes using Esri developer technologies. Welcome, sir. A humble request to all the speakers to keep note of the time and complete on time. Participants, please note that there will be a question and answer session at the end, and please feel free to drop in questions in the chat box. We will also be sharing the agenda in the chat box for your reference. Let me now invite Mr. Krishna to start the workshop on GIS technologies and its relevance in gender and development. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Balu, and welcome all to this session of GIS. I think all of you know what is Esri, and that's a wonderful introduction given by Balu and the Amrita team about what ESRA is all about. So I will not take much time on that particular aspect and move to this. So, Rgis is one of our flagship product, and it is being widely used across multiple domains in India. So there are many mission mode projects which are coming from Government of India, which are currently in progress. And you can see those list of the names which are mentioned in there, where Esri technology is used widely. So it's not only to these mission mode projects. This is one of the default technology being used by the national mapping agencies and many of the education and research institutes which use this particular technology. So coming straight to the part of when you come into the Rgis, one of the very core thing, when we were discussing about how GIS can be used for women empowerment. So we were contemplating on how to really make it interactive and, the background at which you are coming to make relevance of a GIS in the segments which you are working in. And that's how this entire workshop or this session is designed, so that we can give you an overall of how GIS technology can be used. And we will be taking you down across multiple examples of how GIS is being used in some of the women empowerment and other enabling activities which are associated with that. And one of this very critical aspects of those will be covered, which should be helping you in your work and going ahead with that. So, and we have also taken some of the examples of India, where it becomes more relevant for you. And we have tried to be as realistic as possible of the ground which you are doing it. So we'll be definitely welcoming many of the questions from you, relevance, and we are very happy. We'll be very happy to address all your queries. To begin with, I would like to take you down to one of the flagship products of Esri, which is our curator engine. What I call this as a curator engine, the Rgis Pro. This helps you to ingest and digest and mash up all the different information which comes into that. And you can give the layer information as per your requirement of the project. And that's where the Rgis Pro helps you out. And this Rgis Pro connects you to our WebGIS platform, what we call it as Rgis Enterprise. And it constitutes of two main components, the server and the portal. And this portal is a very interesting part of this. The portal hosts many apps which can be used with a very, very simple configuration steps. And you can launch your GIS applications with almost nil effort. So that's the kind of a thing. You just need probably, if I say for a postgraduates like you, it might be hardly a week to bring it up and just learn it. So that's also another advantage of how this gives you a quick learning cycle for you. Apart from that, we also give you some of the modern tools of the deep learning, which can be used in your ArcGIS, which might help you for doing many of the image related activities in your in the part of where you are working in. So if you look at the villages where you go in, what is your one of the primary objective when you go in for a survey to many of these places? You would like to do a very quick reckoning survey, right? And you would like then, once you do a reckoning survey, you do post that, you would like to involve with the community with which whom you are working in. And in this whole space, the GIS brings the mapping part of that. So when you're doing a reckoning survey or a very quick survey for a village, you might be using the tool techniques of RRI. And when you're getting involved with the community, you start taking the tips of PRA. And that is what my first segment of the session would be, where I will be having Prashant and Ajit Kumar Babar, who will be actually be using these techniques and show you how GIS can be used with that. Similarly, followed by that, you will be having a session from Saranya, where she will be taking down from an enterprise to how AI and deep learning techniques, which I'm showing you here, can be used for your quick work within the areas which you are working, and how you can monitor your community. So when I come to the part of women empowerment, this is a very, very, a very critical subject where it comes in. How are we going to empower women? If the first question comes, are our women really not empowered? So that's a question which you have to think in. Are we really not empowered? Are our women not really empowered? But how? Yes, we know it today's age, women are empowered. But if we can give them these tools further, they can actually bring out that particular part of that, of the empowerment part of that can be brought into a map, which can be visualized. There are various aspects to it. The women empowerment also comes with some problems. And there are other issues which also come along with that when it comes to the women empowerment. There are gender conflict issues. There are health issues. There are children and women health issues which also come into the game. And that's what all of these things come into our ArcGIS, into the GIS platform. And you can see how GIS will actually help you out. And in order to do all this, we'll be using our Rgis Enterprise. And you will see many of the examples how this particular product has been used to build various apps and applications. So quickly going through that, I would like to take you down to some of the examples of these, of how these tools have been used in. And I would like to quickly show you of how these tools have been used for showing in. So now you can see this is one of the places where, a woman empowerment kind of a web page can be built by you with just a minimal efforts. This is where I can bring in where the woman empowerment comes in. I have various kinds of geospatial data, currently the areas where you want, so maybe this could be your area of operation. And then I have taken some few aspects of health and women empowerment. And from there, you can see I have created various kinds of applications which might be of help to all of you. So let me take you down to some of these aspects of that. Let me first take you on to the women health. So now you see, this is the bigger dashboard of that, of the entire women health scenario, which is there. Let me refresh this for you if the screen is not clear. And so you can see now how the women empowerment dashboard shows you about. This is for all the health situation, which is available for entire country. And here you can see this gives you different states of the health status of the entire Asian region. So it is so flexible that dashboard gives you an option to select which country you want to do it. So let's assume I want to do it for India. So the dashboard is so dynamic, you can see dynamically it filters and it updates all the value for the area which you are working in. So it gives you a statewide scenario, statewide health status, the different body mass conditions, whether they're anemic, asthmatic, tuberculosis. These are all about the women and different kinds of situation. About this is the health status for Southeast Asia, and this is an actual data which is published by Government of India based on that state. And if I want to give you, let me go down to a state, probably since we are in Kerala, let me see what's the health status for Kerala here of the woman in this. So now when I go into this, the map get zooms to it, and that's the area where Kerala is there. And now you can see a statewide health status of that and an overall scenario of these district-wise analysis, which is coming on to this. I can further drill down. I can further go down and drill down into individual districts also, in order where I can be using it. So let me go down to Ernakulam and see the status of that. So that's where you can see that's the kind of a condition of various health scenarios which is available within this particular place. So this is one such scenario of a health which I can show you in there. Now similarly, if I want to show the various positions the woman uses, woman is there in going like that. Okay. So now within this, you can see the various positions where the woman is there. This is all again the overall scenario the woman holds in the country. These are all like number of places, the police where, Jila Parishad positions, panchayats where they're there, how many constitutions across 77 where they are having it. And this cannot be further filtered out. So let me go to one of the populace where the elections are also going on. And you can see the situation in there of how in the state of Uttar Pradesh, the woman position is there. So like this, this particular scenario actually helps you out of mapping each and every aspect of the woman part. So this all is actually indirectly getting related to the woman empowerment, which is enabled in India. So that's how GIS can be used. And let me take now to another one where you can see this is another one scenario where we are able to show you about the various health changes which is there across the India. And now you can see overall when you see in this is a 59.14 among the adults and women, they're all anemic. This is not a very healthy sign. So what could be seen? That means probably the food habits are not as per the should be not as per the standards of the medical condition where they would have been there. And if I want to see like personally where there are a lot of these things which are coming in, and you can see, so let me ignore for some time onto Ladakh, probably we may not have the, but you see very interestingly, some of these places, these are all some of the, but when I go and monitoring south, this seems to be a very, very healthy part of that and into the central UP, but I see some of the eastern districts of India where you have these scenarios of these particular districts where it can be shown in. But if you look at what the 10th percentile only, this is the kind of different change. So like this, we can have various kinds of maps which can be built in to do that. Similarly, if I want to do about the underweight situation for the India, especially for the children who are born. And now you see, this is a scenario and actually see the heartland of India. This is a scenario which actually is not a very healthy sign. the central heartland of the India, where we see a lot of underweight in the percentage. So this could be many things. So this is where it should be, actually should trigger you why and what kind of, this is where, as a part of this woman empowerment, we may have to do intervention activities to overall improve their health. So at this point, I would like to stop my session, and I would like to hand it over to my colleagues, Prashant and Ajit, to take forward this session and take it forward. Thank you. And we would really encourage you all, if you can please ask questions wherever you are stuck, or where you have any questions, we'll be very happy to address you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Krishna. So good evening, one and all. So as Krishna mentioned in his introductory part, definitely there would be some existing data sets which can be spatial or non-spatial in form, which you will be able to bring in. But one of the main area where the data preparation happens is through data collection. And for any agency, whether it is government agency or NGOs, NPOs, for an empowerment kind of scheme, or for any such studies which is focused to empower women or children or a weaker part of the demography, definitely this village level information need to come out, the micro level information. And there is the methodology of data collection either through different survey techniques can be used, and one of such techniques are through PRA and RRA, participatory rural appraisal and rapid rural appraisal. So these are two techniques generally used, and I want to start with how GIS can be a tool to do this PRA and RRA for data collection, and how it will help you as a technology to build a complete workflow, and also to prepare different maps which will be helping organization to take decision upon, and to disseminate this to appropriate stakeholders. It can be a villager, or it can be a specific organization to monitor it or to update their data on a live basis or a periodic basis, and to use that for further decision making or action. So when we see participatory rural appraisal, it is the aim of it is to incorporate knowledge and data sets from rural people for in the form of planning and management. So this helps this helps the villagers to collaborate as a group. They generally collect a lot of data which will not be true to scale. It is typically a SketchUp for the entire village. From their knowledge they prepare this. So this helps. There are generic techniques they use are like group dynamics to understand learning, and through their contracts or role, their role reveals whether he is a specific person who knows the entire village, or he is a that person is just a woman worker or a child who is going to school, and all people can participate in this. And this specific program will help for surveying and sampling through intersect walks. You will be able to collect data like wealth ranking, social mapping. You may be doing some interviewing with different people to collect such information, like how the census data is being collected at a micro level. For a village map, you will be able to derive all this information, and it will have a semi-structured interviews, or you can even have a structured workflow for this participatory rural appraisal in general. And this helps for organizing the data into Venn diagrams, matrix scoring, ecograms. So these statistical methods helps organizations who are planning to engage in a specific scheme to empower people. So that is the program or maybe PRA generally of, and how maps can help under this PRA technique is by creating specific maps which is giving you some trends, or which will be giving you the existing landscape of or morphology or social condition of the existing demographic pattern, etc., of that village where we are conducting the survey. And generally this helps you to prepare different maps. Like under PRA, these kind of maps are being prepared, and how GIS will help you for preparing such maps, we will be showing you, like social map, resource map, mobility map, etc. So these kind of maps are the outputs which is generated from a PRA. And you can see some of this example. What is a social map? Generally, these villagers through PRA, when they prepare, it will not have any abstractness to it. It will be like a sketch, which I mentioned, and it shows the social reality or participation of the villagers to prepare that specific sketch. And when we talk about resource map from a villager's perspective or from contribution of the villagers, we prepare all these resource inventory through a map where it gives you idea about topography, terrain, slope, forest, vegetation, etc. And this will help organizations to prepare in the backend with a proper scale for land use, land cover, or using remote sensing techniques. If there are some existing resources available, these can be some of such ground truthing. Instead of in the name of typical ground truthing, you do not need to go to the field, but these kind of PRA based maps which is generated by participation of villagers can be considered as input for ground truthing of these maps, which is prepared using satellite images, from where you will derive the land use, land cover, and you can have these swipe tools to compare whether the villager information through a map is depicting really with a system generated land use, land cover. So such analytical studies can be done when we have PRA collected through a proper technique, and GIS is being used in that way, so that the maps are corrected to the ground coordinates. So we get the real information through PRA maps. So such resource maps can be generated through PRA. The other area where PRA helps to create mobility maps, which helps villagers to identify the distance, mode of transport, and purpose of visit. Say, for example, I am a villager, I want to collect all the sources of water taps, which is given by the panchayat, or sourced by a private party, or my own well, if I have. So all these sources, and if I get the underlying data from any government agency like water scarcity, and how far I should go for collecting water from a tap. So all this kind of analytics can be made when we have this kind of mobility map. So this information will be collected from a villager or group of villagers who are participating under PRA, and once we have that, that can be incorporated to the the analytical layer for further action. And it also helps to create surveys and opportunity maps where we understand, okay, these are the location of the shops, and what is the area covered, and how much say for example, if for a maternity home in a village, how far a woman has to travel. So depending upon the mandatory distance, like 500 meters or 1 kilometer, there should be a clinic, at least a maternity clinic. In many villages it is not there. So this kind of gap analysis also can be done when we have the service and opportunity map readily available through PRA technique. And there are different methods it is being used through PRA. So one is that the transect walks are a participatory exercise where GIS can help to prepare this transect track, where you should walk to collect maximum number of information from the village. So on the right hand side, you can see a track where the transect was planned, where villagers along with the agency people, or any specific NGO or NPO or government agency participating in that PRA can go together, coordinate and collaborate together and collect this data. So these are some of the methods, and you will be able to derive some relation methods from that, like different diagrams can be generated using generally this sketch diagrams what you're seeing are being prepared through PRA, but when we have a GIS system in place to run PRA, you will be able to derive these kind of diagrams like impact diagrams, Venn diagrams, matrix, metric ranking method. All this can be generated through a desktop software, and this can be further disseminated to a WebGIS system for further analysis or decision making. So typically how GIS can help you to do this: for having a Transat walk, you can have a plan, you can have participatory maps generated priorly before the survey. So whatever legacy information available from the land records, from the village boundary, from land records, you can get the village boundary and parcel information. You will be able to get generic base maps, as a satellite image, or such base reference images can be availed through softwares, and that's how one way GIS is helping to prepare these participatory maps, so that this helps organizations to collect information through a right methodology, and that comes to a central repository for further mapping and detailing it of the data which is collected. And you will also be able to do time series data like land use change, migration pattern, income pattern. If say for example economic empowerment scheme is there, and you see in last census year or last decade it was the condition, if we take example of women empowerment on the economic side, you will be able to study the economic status which is changed after 10 years. So how village wise at a micro level you will be able to do that when we have this kind of tools to capture the data and store it. And once we have this storage mechanism, we will be able to do this time series analytics for decision making. And it also so what we as an organization who provides GIS technology to different organizations, specifically for PRA, are a mobile application which is called Cube Capture. So Cube Capture allows you to click photographs. So we will be showing a demonstration of this complete workflow, how GIS softwares from Esri can be utilized for PRA. So Cube Capture is one mobile application which is out of box, can help you to capture information from a predefined schema and click photographs, attach it, and use that for map preparation, also disseminated through different dashboards. So this is the workflow. On the downward side, you can see we use a desktop software to capture curate this data. So Krishna was mentioning you about Rgis Pro, which is a curation engine. So here we will be defining the schema and then pushing it as a service, and this service as a web service, it can be consumed inside a mobile application like Cube Capture to capture information from village using the PRA techniques, where villagers will be it is very user friendly. With any smartphone, people will be able to capture this information, and once that is captured, that can be brought back to, as it is a WebGIS service, when network comes, it can be synced back, and maps can be prepared from a desktop side or through a website, and different dashboards or applications like web applications can be created. So for a social resource mapping, again, some of the existing services which Esri is offering through its Living Atlas content, that can be utilized here as a back reference, like the base maps, the existing demography information, the existing terrain information. All this can be incorporated, and along with that, specific defined symbology can be given to the field crew through a mobile app to capture the information. And also, as I mentioned, the archived data can be utilized for time series map generation, and it can be done on a thick client, on a desktop software, or you can do that on a web GIS platform. on the RRA side, generally RRA is not really planned where you do not have specific methodology like PRA, but here it will be very rapid. You will be concluding the complete survey in 4 to 7 days typically, and it is generally done by a consultant or a technology a person from the organization who is engaged for that specific mapping. And more than RRA, I believe PRA would be the appropriate methodology, because you can engage with the citizen or the villagers for collecting this information. And you can see it is again a semi-structured multidisciplinary approach what RRA also uses, and it generally use to emphasize the learning directly from the local inhabitants there to collect information, whether there is a land use change over a period of time, or any feedback if you want to take from the villager directly. So that being collected, so you can do voice recording and an interview with a villager, and that can be considered as an input for the map preparation in the back end. So these mobile applications, what I'm talking about, you will be able to capture photographs also, you will be able to record voice as well. And from Esri as an OEM, you will be getting all these softwares for which is very relevant to the PRA workflow. Like you have Quick Capture, Field Maps, and Survey 123. These are three different mobile applications which is available out of box based on Android and iOS. One is the Field Maps is a map-centric application, and a Survey 123 will be a form-centric application. We have examples of this in the demonstration. Rgis Pro is the desktop application for curation, representation of information, and to define the schema by which you will be capturing the information from the field. And dashboard, story maps, and web application on the website hub. These applications will help you to disseminate information further. So with this, I will show you a quick demo of a Rgis Pro application. So what you are seeing is the interface of Rgis Pro, where you have, so this is a 64-bit application with ribbon technology and very intuitive in nature. There are typically two types of data sets we deal with in GIS. One is a vector data. So what you are seeing here on the left hand side in my table of contents is some assets which is captured from the village. And in the backdrop, what you are seeing is the base map. You can see these base maps are already available as part of the software from Esri. So you can get the terrain with labels, OpenStreetMap, different canvases. Depending upon the thematic map you prepare, the examples in the slide which I mentioned, where you can use a multi-century map. If you are talking about a time series, you can use a street map, or you can use a street navigational based. If you are preparing any map, you can use a street map or a hybrid imagery. So all these imagery or base maps options are available to you. So when you click on a specific vector layer, your tools will change accordingly. If you take a raster layer, you will be able to derive the information. So you can see there are so I can add the GIS layers like the districts and the village or the taluk level, and I can have my village bookmarked, and here I will be able to derive the information. Now I will go and give you a glance of the attribute table, which is the business intelligence generally. So all these points are giving you the spatial location, but each location carries information, and that is in the form of table, right? So this table will give you, say for example, if you take this, this is who is the person who did this survey, what is the asset type. This is a computer center, this is a college, this is a well, this is a water tap. So all that information is available, and who is the owner, what is the availability, all these conditions. So this is called the schema. What information you really want to collect through a PRA technique, and how these information can be utilized to create different applications which are meaningful and which can help organization to take decisions. So once you design this schema in this desktop application, you will be able to share. So
Prashant,
Prashant, I think you muted yourself. You can't hear me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe you are able to see the screen also, right?
Yes, we can see.
Oh, thank you. So you will be able to share your result through a web service. So you probably need to move this. Yeah. So you can share this. So we call this curation engine as a connected desktop. And from here, you will be able to share this as a web layer. So you will be creating a web layer. And once you create a web layer, so you can define specific parameters, how you want to find this out in the WebGIS system so that a mobile application can be configured further. So I will give you an example like you can bring in. So now what you're seeing, I'm using my Rgis Rgis Enterprise, which is a WebGIS platform. So I published from there as a web service, and the same village assets, I can see it in the web browser. And this then further can be consumed inside a mobile application, and you can do the data capturing. So now I will pass on to Ajit to share you the complete workflow of data capturing from a mobile and creating various web applications and map creation on desktop. Over to you, Ajit.
Yes, thank you, Prashant. Can you please confirm if my screen is visible?
Yep.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, thank you, Prashant. So here we can see the data that was published by Prashant. So the data basically was authored in Rgis Pro application, and it was published to our online cloud, basically WebGIS platform, where I can visualize the data. I can query the data. I can see the attribute information related to those particular data, and I can perform basic operations like GIS operations such as measurement. Then I can do base map switcher also is available here. And apart from that, I can directly edit the data in web environment itself. So let's say I have this web application where I want to add or update the data. So that is also possible. We can also perform, we can also do the analysis with the help of some feature analytical tools that comes with the web map here, such as we want to see the hotspot areas, or I want to interpolate points based on the proximity, or simply use proximity analysis to create buffers around these particular features so that we can see the distance between nearest town or villages or a cluster of houses and to that of a water tap, so that we can reduce the time and basically help the different kinds of payments there. Then we'll be having, once the map is ready, so we can simply get this map or this particular service in application called Quick Capture for rapid data collection. So as a part of RRM. So as you can see here, so since we already have these particular templates ready, such as you can see pond, religious office, or river. So these are some of the symbols available with us. So using those symbols or templates, you can directly configure the Quick Capture app, and you can perform the mobile-based survey. So I have already configured those applications here. That a particular application you can configure photograph also. It's like you can collect geotag photographs. So as soon as you point the basically lens of a camera towards that particular feature, camera will get launched and take a photo and along with your current location. So to do that, let me take you to my mobile device here. So as you can see, I'm using this mobile device here, and this is the mobile Quick Capture app available on iOS and Android device. So I can simply click the first survey that is available with me, and I just need to point, as I said, I need to just point my lens of a camera towards feature from a moving vehicle also it can be done. So just point, collect the points, such as I can see bus waiting, bus stop there. I have to just simply click the button, the feature will get captured. And as you can see here, the feature is now stored in my device. So as you know, it's impossible to get internet connectivity always in the field. And be it if it's a remote area, so you will not be having that good connectivity. So these apps supports offline editing also. So whatever the apps such as Quick Capture or Survey 123 that I'm going to showcase are completely built for offline or disconnected editing. So since in current scenario, I do have internet connectivity, I'm just going to straight. So I can see that record. Basically, Prashant sitting in the office or any manager, he can see the data in real time as soon as I submit the data. So that was all about quick capture. Now, as a part of the PRA, where we need to define the surveys in details, such as we have created one survey here in our application called Survey 1234 Rgis. So this is basically for the women's empowerment. So where we're going to collect various data sets, such as economic indicators, social indicators, then intimate family and partner indicators, political, civic, psychological, education, and health related indicators. So let me show you some of the questionnaire available with this particular form. So as you can see, do you participate in self-help group? So we have designed these radio buttons. So we do have certain drop downs also configured, where the question is all about social indicator, like which organization do you belong to or participate in. So if it's just a religious group, or if it's more than one, you can have this button also enabled. So all these form, whatever you are seeing right here, like even capturing photo with that form itself, like you can call it forget about those paper-based surveys, which used to take a lot of days just to collect the data, and then again just see the pain of bringing that data from hard copy to the digital content. It used to take days or even months. So that can be that problem can be solved easily with the help of these digital forms. So you can just even record location of that particular survey, and you can collect rest of the information, such as the name of the respondent. The signature also can be collected, digital signature, date, and so on. So this form was basically configured not in even Rgis Pro. So you don't need to be the expert in GIS to create this form. It was simply created in Microsoft Excel. That's all. So as you can see, and even we can train women also to complete or to create this kind of a survey. We can train them easily, and will not be having that much of a learning curve in that case. So these are the questions that will appear on those forms, and you can define different types of drop downs or subdomains basically, and we can perform a particular survey. And this can be also, we can include regional language with this form. So you can incorporate, let's say, Malayalam or Tamil, that particular script can be also added here. Once you design the form in Excel sheet, we just need to publish it to the web platform, where the service will get created, and we can simply access that service in our mobile devices. So again, let me take you to the mobile device, where we do have that Survey 123 application ready with us, which will help you to do the digital survey for us. So at the bottom, you can see this here, Women's Empowerment Survey. And let's start the data collection process. Now, so these are the categories as we can see here. So let's start one by one. So these questions will be asked by the surveyors. So how much saving and all. So I'll just going to put some number here. Then, does your family have an outstanding loan from the self-help group? So these details basically helps policymakers, right? So to study the effectiveness of existing policies that are already implemented, or to design further policies. So this information will be helpful to design and implement for future policies. So do you have do you participate in, or if you're a member of any social or religious organization? All this information will be collected. A simple question like this: who will decide on your husband? Like this. So who decides how many children you have? And there are some questions we have configured related to political and civic indicators, such as do you read newspaper, and psychological indicators, education, how difficult is it for a married woman to continue her schooling? So the answer definitely will vary like this. So in the end, if it's necessary, we can collect a photo also, and location where the survey was carried out, which will be basically helpful later to do hotspot analysis, or to find out the cluster of areas where there is no hospital nearby, since there is a question whether you're getting what you can say, health after injury or not. certain questions are we have configured that. And then finally, signature with this, and signature of the supervisor and surveyor as well. So we'll just publish it as I mentioned earlier. Again, so it's like impossible to get like internet connectivity always. So we do have option called save in outbox. So it's in that way you can do the disconnected data collection. So since I do have internet, I'll just go ahead and submit the data. So this data will be like updated. Like then again, the management or the like Prashant can immediately see the data in the web map. And finally, we do have created one dashboard basically like this here, as you can see, based on the survey that we just completed, the survey 123 digital format. So here, these are the widgets that we have configured in the form of pie charts or diagrams. We can see like the organizations that these women participate, such as like religious groups or self-help groups, the total number of surveys conducted and all, at the locations, as you can see in the map there. Then here the question at top right, we do have like sources for information about the what government is doing. So how these women are getting that information, whether it's group, like the group, internet, NGOs, relatives, newspaper and all. So whether they were consulted for recent injury, not. So we can find out the reason for that, and we can decide whether there is like primary health center is available or not in the nearby area. So to do that, we can go back to the like web map. We can perform route like network analysis there, routing basically, like from that village location, how far like the nearest health center. So can perform that kind of analysis as well. So network analysis, be it like overlay analysis or proximity analysis, can be easily conducted to find out the reason behind that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this all information can be used by policymakers to design future policies. So that's all from my side. Over to Saranya for like next demo on GOI. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit. That was a wonderful presentation. I hope there is no.
Serena, your sound is a bit low. You try.
Am I audible now?
It's a lot of echo, I'm sorry. You're on mute right now?
Just give me 1 moment.
Yeah.
So parallelly, if we have questions, probably we can discuss. Balu, if there are questions from the participants, you can.
Yes, there are a lot of comments in the chat. Questions as such right now. Or do you want Shiva Shankar Reddy to go ahead so that once he finishes, Sharanya can continue from there? Would that be better? Or is there an order that you want to follow?
Yeah, Tarak, you have a question.
Okay. Well, I'd like to first, it's not really a question, it's more comments. And first of all, I congratulate and I thank actually in Esri India for this amazing presentation. Really very good, because it coincides a lot with a lot of the work we are doing right now in Amrita and our program. And I just wanted, like a lot of our students, I wish like all of the students could attend this. Next time we make sure that basically Esri India is just one single track, not breakout session, because it's really useful for everybody to attend that. But I'm just saying this for our team, because a lot of this work that we see right now, we do lots of work in the field work, and usually work in different projects and different aspects. But again, going to what Aswani was mentioning, how this connect to system thinking, because in GIS there's 3 ways, basically 3 parameters that are more important, that everything in GIS is based on: how things are connected to each other, we call this network analysis; how things are close to each other, we say this proximity analysis; and then most importantly, how things coincide with each other in one geographic space. And this is the whole idea of system thinking. So basically we're thinking about place-based approach. One place where we study safety and security, we study health dimension, we study basically the education, we study everything related to all women in one single space. So this is system thinking, basically one place where we have the different dimension and how they coincide together So it is just very important for our students to start to really become curious about learning about spatial thinking and how to think in terms of space, connectivity, proximity, and coincidence, because this is basically what makes you start actually, of course, the tools will come, and these tools like Esri, for example, presenting amazing tools, start actually see this connection happening together. So we hope just to start to see that this is one important thing. The second thing is actually, as in the sewage, we're starting a new research agenda, and one of our tracks is collecting statistics and indicators to support the assessment of different villages. What actually we would like to do, and this was amazing for, Ajutumar presentation for the dashboard. We would like actually to come with what we call it the woman empowerment profile for each village, and by collecting a set of indicators and then track them over time. So we were thinking about what is woman empowerment. It's a process of how vulnerability changes up and down over time. Hopefully we get them down, and the more they get down over time, the temporal aspect, this is how the empowerment process kicks in and it's going better. So if we can develop this kind of a village profile for women empowerment using these tools and have a dashboard, we start actually see the women process in place. This is in action. We are seeing this physically, like, okay, 2022, 2024, this is the so we actually are able to make a case for the impact of intervention and able to see women empowerment in action, just talk about it theoretical. We don't touch it. It's not tangible. Now, Esri and tools like GIS allow us to see this kind of in place. See this basically in effect, the empowerment process. So just, we need to learn about this, and basically, hopefully that becomes one of our courses in the future. So I just wanted to congratulate you for opening the eyes for us and for our students to learn about this. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. We do have some dashboards towards that, as you mentioned. It may not be for a time series, but whatever data available from 2011 census, we have collated some information through dashboards, and we'll be doing that demo as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. I'm watching here. So I was excited. I've been in GIS for over 30 years. So whenever I see, things have come way far since then. So it's just amazing. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Over to you, Saranya.
Thank you, sir. I hope my voice is better now. Sorry about that glitch. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. Before I start the session, I would like to express my gratitude to Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, all the organizers here, and also for Balu for facilitating this session so wonderfully. So since yesterday, we have had the pleasure of listening to several experts talking about their vision for women empowerment. And this part of the workshop was more focused on the tools that will help you monitor your goals and keep you track, as Rashid mentioned, are we actually on track for these missions? So we can all agree that keeping pace with latest technology and innovation is very crucial to understand the complexity of the issues and complexity and different dimensions that are involved in women empowerment and gender equality. So one such technology that I wanted to discuss today is artificial intelligence. So most of you must be familiar with the term artificial intelligence. We hear it in media, we hear it in social media. So to cut to its basics, artificial intelligence is the ability of the computer to do certain tasks that require some level of human intelligence, like recognizing images, translating text, etc. So when a mission aspires to achieve human intelligence, we call it artificial intelligence. And in Esri, Rgis is now approaching towards Geo AI, where we are trying to bring not only the artificial intelligence component, but also imagery, spatial data, GIS data, statistics, all together in one place, so that you get all the tools necessary to carry out any of these analysis. So what can these machine learning do? So machine learning has been traditionally used for extracting features from imagery. If you want to understand, are there any new construction in your area of interest? You want to make predictions. You want to study not only the past performance, but would also like to predict how the trend is going to progress in the future. So here what you can see is the blue line is the past data, and using that we are predicting it with certain level of confidence. So we can make time series predictions. We can study disease propagation using these tools. You can find patterns in your data. And when we say patterns, it's not just in the XY dimension. You can also add time to it so that you will be able to see are there any clusters in these dimensions? Are there any anomalies in the data? Is there a particular country or village behaving more positively or more negatively? Or do you want to extract insights from text data? For example, most of our crime reports are present as text. If you want to understand more, you want to break it down and see what is actually happening, you want to bring location information into it, you can use machine learning to do all such things. So these are just snapshots of the work we have done so far. So we have used our tools to understand whether a building is damaged or undamaged. We have tried to understand the status of our infrastructures. We have tools that help you monitor vehicles in an imagery. So these are some of the use cases. And the common steps in all these analysis is like once you have your input data, you can be using satellite data or drone data or photographs. You have your image. Once your image is ready, you can use these 4 steps to achieve any result. For example, let us say you're more interested in identifying unusual shifts in any given imagery. You will label such shifts, you prepare the data, and you will train your model to identify such shifts in a given imagery. Then you will deploy that model in every other places. So let us see how we can incorporate this study with the help of an example. So most of you know that agriculture is one such sector where the potential for women empowerment is huge, as most of our workers are mostly dependent on agriculture, and there are a lot of programs that are focused on sustainable agriculture practices, agroforestry, etc. So I'm going to quickly show you how I can use GeoAI technology to study my area of interest. So here is the area of interest. Here I have an image of a plantation activity that is happening in this area. Now I would like to have a model which will help me count all these trees and also assess the health of these trees. This will help us monitor all our focused activities and missions to focus on such forestry improvements. So I will start collecting the training samples. So here you will, we have the tools for, So in geoprocessing, we have tools for labeling the data. You have tools for training your models. You have tools for detecting objects from imagery. So all these tools are available in this deep learning toolbox. To save time, I've already trained the model so that let us take a look at the result. So I trained the model with these samples, and my model was able to detect this many trees in a given area. Now I can do some post-processing to make this result more clearer. And I can also add information about the health of the tree from indices we extract from satellite images. With this, I will be able to get not only the count, but also insight about how healthy or unhealthy a given tree is. As Prashant showed, we can also export it to our WebGIS, and from there you'll be able to see what is the status of the trees in a given area. So not only this, we can use the same approach for multiple problems. Like if you take the case of brick kilns in India is an unorganized sector, but it is also very infamous for unfair labor practices and child labor. So identifying such brick kilns are very important. And they are also major contributors of pollution, especially the old model brick kilns are found to be responsible for some pollution activities, especially in the state of Delhi. So I can train the model to identify such brick kilns. So here you can see the dashboards of brick kilns around Delhi. You can see the old model ones and how it is being replaced with zigzag brick kiln, which is a little more less polluting. Similarly, you can use the same technology to identify areas where infrastructure gap is present, where women are not given access to basic infrastructure and good hygiene conditions to live. So you can map such slum areas where you think good quality of living is not there. We can try to study how this slum area is changing over time. So here we have compared two different time periods in 2004 and 2014, and you can see how the total spread is changing over time. You can also map water bodies and see the extent, how the extent of water body is changing over time. In your area of interest, is there continuous supply of natural water resources? Are they diminishing? If it is diminishing, why is it diminishing? So tools like this will help us ask difficult questions and also try to answer them. You can also try to find out how good the quality of infrastructure in any given area. So here we have trained the model to identify potholes in a given imagery. So you can see the model was able to identify not only the dry potholes, but are also the waterlogged ones. Similarly, the same model you can fit and try to identify, are there any road cracks in a given image? Let me just start the video here. Yeah, so it is actually creating a bounding box surrounding each of these road cracks. Similarly, if you are interested in tracking vehicles or suspicious activities in any given neighborhood, especially blind spots for women's safety, such CCTV linked workflow can help us identify or track any such vehicles. Finally, I would like to show the same GeoAI technology based on ArcGIS Pro has been recently used to count the refugee camps or tents in certain regions. So these tents not only act as a temporary source of living for people who have been suffering from war and violence, they also act as indicators to study the demand for humanitarian aid. So the same tools which we saw today were used to study how many tents are there, and this will give us an approximation of what is the demand for food and other humanitarian aid in any given area. So these are just some of the examples which I wanted to discuss today, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. You can drop your suggestions on how you think that GeoAI can help you. And as Rashid mentioned, we have several time series forecasting tools as well. So if you're interested in such sessions, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to show that in detail for you. Now I will hand over the session back to Prashant for how we can monitor the missions using GIS. Over to you, Prashant.
Yeah. Thank you, Saranya. Let me share my screen again. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, yes, it is.
So, so this is wonderful, Saranya, and towards the woman empowerment part, we thought of having some demonstrations over some statistical analysis and some dashboards which will give some insight on the existing statistics which is there. So this is such an example where we have collated some information from the 2011 census, and the updates to that also have been included. So here you can see a dashboard, a dynamic dashboard where it shows the indicators like the rate of crime against women. See, these are all dynamic in nature. You can expand it. You can have more dynamic infographics along with the graphical data or the maps what you have. So the map represents different thematic representations like the unemployment rate, you have crime rate. So all these thematic representations are available. You can turn on each layer and you can interact with this dashboard like that. So this is about unemployment and this is about the crime rate. By just with the rendering itself, we'll be able to interpret the statistics which is there for the country statewide, and this is the inequality rate what we observe from the statistics. So you can see that infographics have been derived, and if you select a specific state, say for example, Kerala, so it is 75% the inequality score for the state. And you can see when I select that, the appropriate filters happen in the map, and also into the other infographics which is there in the dynamic card. Now coming to another example, probably I'll move this. Yeah. So according to 2011 census, the census of India, 52% of population in Kerala is female, and constituting the sex ratio of 1,084 females for 2,000 males. And the density of female population also, if you see, so the first layer representing that female population, the concentration, you can see it is in the to the western side of the state, to the lower land and the midland of area, and the highland constituting less in density of population. It is in case of female also it is the same. And this specific belt, out of total population of Kerala, 5% is below 6 years, and which is 9% of the total female population. So the next layer is coming about that female population below 6 years. So you can see where you have more density. So this kind of full interpretation of the statistics can be derived from a GIS application where you create thematic representation of the existing demography data. That is one area. Now, the literacy rate of the female population in Kerala as per 2011 census is 84%. And the interesting fact is that though the female literacy rate is 84%, the female working population is only 18% of total females in Kerala, among which 12% are main workers and 6% are marginal workers. So the 78% of male, 78% of female workers and other workers engaged in government and other services, which is concentrated towards the southern districts of Kerala. So if you see this example of, I'll turn off this layer, and this is the female workers information, and you can see the concentration is towards the southern part of the districts, not in the northern belt. And also you have a diminishing status towards the Western Ghats area. So it has a direct relationship with geography. And it is identified that the spatial distribution of density of female population in the state and the growth is directly proportional to this geography of coastal belt, mid belt, and specifically in the northern districts of Kerala. So from taking from this, this is a foundation study of this demography and statistics for take an example of this into a woman empowerment part, and take a dashboard from that to derive some information, like all that statistics I have added into this as a thematic map here. And you can see the logo is created for Kudumbashree. So the connection what I'm making from the demography and the statistics what I was talking about currently with the 2011 census is how women empowerment happening in the state of Kerala, specifically through one of the poverty eradication program called Kudumbashree. So many of you might be aware that this program is widely accepted, and you see a statistics of MSME distribution. So there is the Kudumbashree program, as we are aware that it focuses on women empowerment, economical empowerment, and social empowerment. And I'm taking the women empowerment part mostly on the economical empowerment aspect of women empowerment, so that I added some of the MSME distribution from the central ministry. You see that data for the Kerala, if you see the manufacturing units, etc. For the district. So total manufacturing unit and the total service units, etc., are plotted like this as an infographic. And this gives you that the Calicut and Kasaragod, the northern districts, are mostly registered, and we do not have a classification of female entrepreneurs in this specific MSME classification. But if you come down to the micro enterprises distribution, this is from the Kudumbashree program, and you see the spikes are coming from the southern districts. So that means that the northern districts of Kerala, though having so if you see the literacy rate also, you have a diminishing pattern towards the northern districts of Kerala. And you can see some statistics coming out of agricultural workers, total female workers. All these parameters can be considered why these kind of even we have a very successful program in the state running for empowering women economically, but still the participation is lesser from the Western Ghats region, probably because of the tribal community there and not reaching the accessibility issues, or having proper facilities to the programs reach. It may not be for only for Kudumbashree, it applicable for all the women empowerment programs, specifically for the economic empowerment of women. It should be focusing on this lower density area where we get these statistics. So GIS as a tool will help any organization who frames these schemes and understand the pattern, how a program is evolving in the states and how this empowerment is happening, and where you have concentration, where the empowerment is really happening, where you do not have, though you have focus, but still people are not coming out. So these kind of derivations can be possible with the tools like GIS, where you can create dynamic data sets. And this is an example of you see the distribution of female non-workers. So out of the total population, female population, you are plotting it as an infographics, and you can interact this with the map, where you can select a specific layer from this. You can see when I select a specific bar graph element for a specific district or a village, you will be able to go there. So you have agricultural workers focusing on the middle belt or coastal belt of Kerala, and the other daily workers from the female population are concentrated on the Western Ghats region. So the geographic connect is also there, the accessibility connect is also there. How that can be factored in when we plan a specific scheme which will help women empowerment, specifically on the economic side. So that was the topic I thought of, connecting how GIS can help in this specific area. And on the other indicators, Saranya will be talking nationally and globally also. So this is with this I will end my session, and I'll hand it over to Saranya to take up the national indicators. Over to you, Saranya. Thank you.
Thanks, Prashant. I hope my screen is visible.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So as Prashant showed, that GIS can help us reveal patterns in data, help us derive, are there any relationships between two components. So this is one small example of how we can see the enrollment changes over each grade. For example, in this particular district of Tamil Nadu, while the enrollment number keeps on increasing for boys, for girls, there is a very unique pattern. Like suddenly at grade 7, the enrollment, there is a fall in the enrollment. So these type of insights, you can pick it up quickly when you have the GIS, when you bring the GIS into our data sets. So similarly, you can study how our working population is distributed. So this is one analysis we did from Census 2011 data. You can see that while 88.17% of male are engaged in work, usually have a tenure of more than 6 months, whereas for women, it is only 78%. So even if they are employed for a really short time, like less than 3 months or 3 to 6 months. No, like only 78% of women have engaged continuous engagement of more than 6 months. Similarly, you can create multiple dashboards to bring out national missions focused on public health. So here what you're seeing is the maternity dashboard created from the data from the health department of Tamil Nadu. Here you can see the areas which require immediate intervention. Similarly, you can create dashboards on a national scale. So Prashant showed on how we can do it for Kerala. The same, you can scale it up using the same technologies and bring out interesting analytics on a national level as well. So here we have dashboards for state-wise immunization, sex ratios, disease morbidities, malaria cases. Here, what you're seeing right now is the transmission of HIV from mother to child, what is the treatments available. So we can try to bring all of them. So the decision makers are given access to the right and accurate data at the quickest time possible. Now moving on how we can bring all of this in GIS or web GIS. So what you're seeing here is an Excel sheet of sustainable goals. So this from this data set, it is little difficult to understand how each country is performing on how it is performing on different indices. It is little difficult to comprehend all this information we have. So that is why I would like to show you how WebGIS can help us enable community engagement, how we can bring data, people, tools all together so that we can have an continuous engagement, we can have access to authoritative data. So this is an example of Open SDG Data Hub, where you will get access to authoritative data. And this is the whole goal is to make sure that the decision makers have data and statistics that are accurate, timely, sufficiently disaggregated, relevant, and accessible. So in this page, you can explore geospatially referenced data segregated by the goals. So you can click on any goal and see what are all the data sets available. In addition to the data catalog, you can also read some of the stories that are published here. So I will just show you the data page. So when I selected gender equality, I'm given access to 3 dashboards. If you want to explore the percentage of women in parliament, you can click that dashboard and read about the source of the data. And you can also access the data and explore it in your desktop. Let us give it one moment to refresh. Let us come back to this page later. So as I was saying, we can also create powerful stories to say the research. You researchers are carrying out several analyses and you're doing important work. And it is very important to share these stories in an impactful manner to other stakeholders, others in your organization, your peers, your communities. So RGIS Story Map is one such application which will help you tell these important stories. So here what we have done is the same Excel sheet you saw has been converted into a story map format where you can explore the data further. Let me just move to the individual country page. So in this country profile, you can see all the participatory states. So we have 193 member states. I can navigate to India to know what is the SDG rank. So India's rank is 120. You can see how the trend has changed over time from 2000. We were at 50, the score was at 50.94. Now our score is 60.07, which means that we have achieved 60% of our SDG goals. You can also see the spillover score. So each country's actions can have either a positive impact or negative impact on other countries' ability to achieve the SDG goals. So the more higher the score is, the more positive the impact is. So now India now has a spillover score of 98.9, and you also get several small dashboards just to give you a snapshot of all the 17 trends. So while we have achieved our goal in climate action, we are declining on life on land, which means that we should focus more on sustainable practices. And
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are reaching close to 5. So are we close to wrapping up?
Sure. Yes. In addition to these trends, you can also download the PDF files where you will be able to see PDF report of all the SDG goals and also all the individual indices. Now I will hand over the session to Mr. Shiva, who will quickly show us the development part of today's session. Over to you, Shiva.
Thanks, Saranya. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is. I know we had a technical glitch, but I'm sorry we couldn't be able to make it a little quick because we have passed our time here. So,
okay. Good evening to all. Let us talk about Rgis platform for developers. Rgis platform is a platform as service. We can integrate your apps into your solutions, your business systems. In Rgis developer, we have providing this type of APIs in web APIs, and mobile APIs, and desktop APIs. Using these APIs, you can create your apps in mobile, desktop, and desktop, mobile. And coming to the some real time scenario. Before starting the application, I want to discuss about what the problem coming to India, how to get the contaminated water in India for facing to the people, especially for women. Now I will talk about in India, in yearly 1/3 of world population, more than 2 billion people has lack of access to the safe water, and fetching water in India has been pursued for women's job for centuries. Women, especially for in rural areas, walk miles to collect the data for nearest resources like ponds, wells, and some tanks. But these are drying up because of the overconsumption and increasing the pressures. The main thing is increasing the safe drinking water is the important issue of the health and development, national and regional and local levels. The concept of drinking water assumes great significance in India, country like India, where majority of people's population living in villages only with the bare infrastructures and some poor sanitation. And especially for the fluoride is an endemic problem in the groundwater of the data. These are the problems we are facing. Now I will discuss about this application, how we can simply and effectively we can detect these problems using this application. How to get the prevent from the health hazardous and prevent health hazardous. And this application provides drinking water equality. This idea comes in IIT Madras student whose mother will due to the drinking water contamination. In this application, we are showing to the 4 lights.
Siva, I'm sorry, can I? I'm sure everybody will agree with me when you say I have to cut you short here. I'm very sorry because we have passed our time at the next speaker's waiting. So as we said, I see that you can see the chat box has been very busy from the beginning. It tells us how interesting and how appealing it has been to everyone. And I see that for most of the questions, the Esri team has answered also. So for few questions, for open questions, I'll take it down. I'll mail it to your team. So if your team could reply to us, that would be helpful. And for the answers in the chat, I'll make sure that I copy the question and the answer and send it to the people individually. So with that, let me close this session from the Amrita team. I'd like to thank the entire Esri team for this wonderful presentation. It has been very insightful, and I'm sure it will help us move forward with most of the research work, as Dr. Tarak also mentioned in his talk. So I hope you have more collaborations and move forward with this. And for all the participants, we'll be taking a quick break for 10 minutes. And after that, by 5:15, we'll have the next session. But please note, you have to leave this room if you have to go back to the waiting room. From there, the other sessions will continue. So once again, let me take this opportunity to thank the Esri team for their wonderful presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Balu. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you so much. Wonderful session and a lot to learn and a lot of ideas and even, hopefully, so thank you so much, Krishna, all the entire team. And we will be actually in touch, of course, and again, I thank you guys and thank Ajendra, of course, for supporting this. This is amazing work. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To add, since the water is something that's very important to us, if you could please share the presentation, we would still love to actually see what was going to happen in that presentation. So yeah, it's something we really would like to have a little bit of a better understanding. So thank you. Thank you so much.
And be assured, actually, our next course, incoming course in the next semester will be GIS for social science and social work. And basically we'll be in touch with you and we can work together in coming with sort of professional, like certificate or something for our students. So that will be also a collaboration that we can do it together. So we'll start thinking about something like that. Very, very, very promising. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session. Very enlightening.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.